You're listening to The World at 8 with Lynn Mozart. The World at 8, the number one in nationalist news.
These are the headlines of the news today, Friday, the 27th of January. The Senate in Argentina is to discuss the future of the Falkland Islands. Britain must brace itself for sudden wintry conditions, state weather reports across the country. The famous train set company Hornby takes a nosedive in the share market. From the belly of the beast with Nick Griffin. Relatives of 24 Iraqi civilians who were killed in Haditha by American troops are enraged with the outcome of the case. A building that collapsed in Brazil has killed at least 4 people. The first shipment of flour from South Korea to North Korea has been allowed in. Thought for the day. UK News. The Senate in Argentina is to discuss the future of Argentina, or so it says. The Argentine Senate, who will be meeting today, will be discussing what it is going to do about the islands that they want to claim as theirs, which rightly belong to Great Britain. The subject of the Falkland Islands lay dormant for years after the Falklands War until reports of oil being found around the Falkland Islands, which greedy Argentina has got its eye on. Britain must brace itself for sudden wintry conditions, weather reports are reporting across the country. Snow, sleet and hail will hit Britain over the next few days, along with fast falling temperatures. The lowest temperatures could reach as low as -5. A decapitated man's body has been found in Stockport. The man, aged 32, may have been a murder victim, police say. 2 men have been arrested by the police and are being held. Hobby enthusiasts see their favourite company Hornby take a nosedive on the shares market. The company has been world famous for making electric train sets and fantastic accessories for more than 60 years. Company officials have said it was the slow buying at Christmas that saw the slump. Abu Qatada bail hearing has been scheduled for the 6th of February. Qatada defence team claim his continued detention isn't unreasonable as the Strasbourg-based human rights court finds that his expulsion would be in violation of Article 6, the European Convention on Human Rights. Euronews with Nick Griffin. This week's dispatch from the belly of the beast was written for us by Nick Griffin as he travelled home for the weekend from the European Parliament in Brussels. Naturally, all eyes in Parliament this week have been on Greece. The mood, however, seems at present to have moved on from the barely restrained panic which was palpable several times in the earlier stages of the crisis, as the pro-EU majority did headless chicken impressions as they tried to work out how to stop the rot. Now it's more like an air of weary resignation, with most of them seeming at least to have realised that there is nothing they can do to stop it. The fact that Greece, one way or another, is going to leave the euro and return to the drachma, a currency more than 2,000 years old that has served that country very well, is now understood to be inevitable. My hunch, Mr Griffin tells us, is that the brighter of the mainstream MEPs also know in their heart of hearts that it won't stop there either. Once Greece leaves the euro, devalues and becomes the cut-price sunshine holiday and property playground of the whole of Northern Europe, the corresponding slump in tourist revenue for Spain, and to a lesser extent Italy, will give their downward spiral a vicious twist too. The whole euro project is beginning to unravel. That doesn't mean, unfortunately, that the European Union itself, however, is going to vanish. Indeed, as Nick goes on to say, right now there are 2 sets of MEPs walking around Parliament with a spring in their step. The first are the Euro-realists. Of course, we know that there's a long way to go before the last president of the EU announces that the lair of the beast is to shut down and flogged off to a Chinese hotel chain, into a hotel and conference centre. But at least we know now that such a time will come. For the carefully crafted myth of the inevitability of the ever greater union has at long last been shattered. So we're happy, but so too are the hardcore Europhiles. They're bouncing around with crazed glints in their eyes. I know that sounds strange under the circumstances, so let me explain. To Mr Barroso and friends, this is a moment of destiny, the time they've schemed for over years. To them, the failure of the single currency isn't proof that integration doesn't work. Oh no, it's actually proof that it hasn't gone far enough. Having one currency has brought disaster, so their solution is to have one economic and fiscal policy as well. What could be more logical? So while everyone else knows that the whole European dream has turned out to be a nightmare, we nationalists always said it would be. a delusional clique of crackpot dictator bureaucrats sit in their high-rise bunker equivalents of Brussels, Strasbourg and Luxembourg, moving imaginary divisions of grateful and obedient citizens and their taxes around on imaginary maps. Relief armies will soon arrive. The evil markets and wicked speculators will be driven back. Vast crowds will surge onto the streets for spontaneous victory rallies, overseen of course by an army of health and safety inspectors. Carbon will be eliminated from the atmosphere. The Strawberry Soviet, or is it the Raspberry Reich, will last 1,000 years. Whom the gods would destroy, they first make mad. That being the case, the gods must have had enough of this lot, because they're mad as a box of frogs. On which subject, Nick concludes, I stayed in a different place this week. A small hotel cum bed and breakfast establishment. Shabby chic in a rambling fin de siècle property, possibly having trouble earning its keep. Run by a charming but clearly frequently tipsy landlady, way too old to still be wearing Nancy Sinatra boots, and who apologised profusely for oversleeping, so there was no breakfast the first morning. A splendid black cat that clearly believes that the butter, on occasions it is forthcoming, is part of its breakfast. A French bulldog which clearly believes the guest's legs are its breakfast. A parrot that clearly believes it's an hysterical French child, or a child that thinks it's hysterical francophone parrot. Never got to see which it was, but the smart money has to go on the parrot option. Plus creaking stairs, an extraordinary lack of lighting, and hot taps that run cold for 6 minutes before suddenly switching to superheated mode after being left running for 6 minutes precisely. Warning of the dangerous transition being given by spectacular gurgling. Faulty Towers meets Allo Allo. Won't be going back, but wouldn't have missed it for the world. World news. A bus driver in Delhi has driven down a jam-packed street with people and has killed 9 of them so far. The crazed bus driver has injured over 20 other people in the incident. He went on to mow down people in the scooters and smashed into stalls selling food and goods in the attack. The relatives of 24 Iraqi civilians who were killed in Haditha by some American troops are enraged with the outcome of the case. A light sentence was handed out to one American soldier involved in the massacre. One person had quoted from the Iraqi village. The incident took place in 2005. 26 people have been killed in a bomb attack in Iraq. The attack that took place was detonated near a hospital. More people were injured in the blast capital, Baghdad. A building that collapsed in Brazil has killed at least 4 people. The buildings that collapsed had rescue workers working night and day to find more people trapped under the rubble. The Nigerian government has spoken openly that it will sit down to talks with the deadly Islamic group Boko Haram. The Islamic group have been responsible for attacks in the region. The Nigerian president, called Good Luck Jonathan, said that his federal government would be happy to sit down and talk to the Islamic terror group if they can just identify themselves. Now it must be me, but I think that whenever I hear the name of that Islamic group Boko Haram, I always think of the old pop group Procol Harum. South Korea has allowed the first shipment of flour to reach communist North Korea. North Korea has accepted the flour, which is in short supply in the first exchange of food aid since the death of Kim Jong-il. Thought for the day. These are not so much a single thought, but several small ones. Regarding the awful dilemma with the PIP breast implants, I am not quite sure what the European governments are doing, but I understand they are removing them free of charge, regardless of whether they have ruptured or not. Our government will only remove free of charge if they have ruptured, and a couple of the private clinics who usually do these operations at great cost are saying they will remove free but will not replace. Well, I think all the private clinics who took the cash from these ladies should remove free of charge. As to whether they replace them, well, if I had had a scare like that, I would not want replacements of any sort. Of course, I'm not including victims of cancer and accidents who would hopefully get instant removal and free replacements. Now that this trouble has apparently spread to testicle implants, we might see more of a lean towards replacing some PIP implants for free. Millionaire financier Nat Rothschild is behind the suggestion that a Russian oligarch could become a donor for the Tories. Lord Feldman, co-chairman of the Conservative Party, has got wind of it. The oligarch Oleg Deripaska entertained both Shadow Chancellor George Osborne and Lord Mandelson on his yacht when they were staying with the Rothschilds in Corfu. Who would have thought the day would come when several gentlemen of the Jewish persuasion would try and get a Russian to back them? Clearly all pogroms have been forgotten. That's politics for you. One more thing. We are always grateful for feedback on The World at 8 and would ask that you let us know your thoughts and ideas to make this news more interesting. So go on to the British National Party website for your comments or the South East BNP website and have a voice. And finally, If you go to watch the Olympics in London this year, you may take your baby on one condition: it has to buy a ticket. The ridiculous rumour that has been travelling in the media is that if you haven't got a ticket for your baby, you won't get in. Although some officials seem to be saying this is nonsense, the public doesn't seem to see it in writing of any of the rules. The next liberal crazy Olympics may see a baby competition, to see which father can throw his baby's used nappy the furthest with his baby cradled to his chest. You have been listening to The World at 8. I am Lynn Mozart, and I wish you all a very happy and safe weekend.